Okay, we are going to dispel with this bullshit about vote your conscience and blah, blah, blah. You should absolutely vote for people who you want to vote for. But sometimes you don't get to, sometimes you don't even have a choice. And I can speak from firsthand experience. I think in many elections, you don't even, I mean, you never have the choice to begin with. You might even have good people in the primaries that you want. And most people don't have the time, energy, or funding to run themselves. So you get the country that we have, and probably around the world it's the same thing. So we're going to talk today about vote your vengeance, which is my alternative to it. The fact is that if you're going to be watching this video, I'm sure you either agree that you're probably voting in this election against certain things that are happening in your state. And it just depends what side you're on. For a Democrat that's going to be watching this video, I'm not telling you how to vote. If you want to vote for the Democratic candidate, go ahead. I don't care. I personally, this is what vote your vengeance means to me. And this is a general rule. There are a couple exceptions I'll go into. But you vote for the candidate that will fuck the Democrats the hardest. Okay? You vote for the candidate that will defeat them and pretty much weaken the party. And hopefully in 2020, we might get at least a choice between Donald Trump and somebody, whatever, somebody who's not a complete total retard. Okay, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a Democrat. I'm not saying that you should not hope that Donald Trump gets elected because I personally am planning to vote for him as of this moment. I'm just saying people should have a choice. And the choice shouldn't be between Donald Trump and some sort of complete and total clusterfuck like Cory Booker or something. And the exceptions that I would go into, which we're not really going to focus on today, but I'm just going to put it out there. You have Tulsi Gabbard in Hawaii, I think, does a good job for what she's elected to do. She's not, to my knowledge, she's not corrupt. I could be wrong. Does a lot of criticizing U.S. entanglements in the Middle East and elsewhere. If I lived in Hawaii, I definitely would have voted. I would vote for her, even though on most domestic policies, I probably don't up with her at all. And I do respect her, and I'm not going to qualify it with anything else. And then in Illinois, there's one guy named Dan Lipinski who's simply running against a complete lunatic. And then there's some other district in California where there's some, but in those cases, I mean, it doesn't really make a difference because the people they're running against are not going to win. That's just a fact. So those are the exceptions. So be that as it is, okay. Other races I think that you should vote for in a certain sense. Somebody specific. If you're in California, why not vote? Okay, for Kevin De Leon. I mean, who cares? Look, there's a very simple reason for that. If you're voting for Feinstein, you're basically supporting somebody who refuses to acknowledge that they failed over 20 or so years to really change anything. They've just become basically the skeleton woman. That's Dianne Feinstein. I don't think that there's many ways to refute that. She's pretty much become, the shrunken hag from Sleeping Beauty or whatever stereotypical Disney film you want to talk about. Yeah, vote for Kevin De Leon. I don't care about any of his policies. Frankly, I think he's probably the same garbage, just a little newer, and in the future it'll be a little easier to get rid of him because I don't know. He'll probably have to deal with a different situation in 6 years in California as opposed to her. Well, I mean, you could look at it either way. Okay, if you're somebody who wants strictly to screw over the Democratic Party, which I guess is the rationale of this stream, this stream of thought. This is not a live stream, by the way. Then yeah, maybe you want to vote for Dianne Feinstein because it's likely she'll probably not serve the entire term, and in the end they'll have to call a special election, and maybe you'll get a couple other candidates who might make it to the to the runoff because you have a Democrat against a Democrat. Why not have a Green against a Democrat if you're going to do it anyway? Why should they, even if they have slightly different political positions? Why do they have to belong to the same party? Okay, that to me is ridiculous. So you can have a Green against a Democrat if people don't want to vote Republican. You can have a Libertarian. You can have, I think they have the Peace and Freedom Party there or something. I forget. They have the, what else do they have in California? It doesn't matter. Screw the Democrats. That's my position. This is the party that was so ridiculously stupid and tone deaf that they wanted to boycott In-N-Out Burger for donating to the GOP, even though they donated to the Democrats as well. So they deserve all the contempt that you can give them, and that's why you want to vote your vengeance. Here's another reason. You have this guy. This is from Project Veritas. This is probably, to me, this is the best video Project Veritas has done this campaign, infiltrating the Andrew Gillum campaign and getting this guy who, to his credit, was saying exactly what he thinks, and he's entitled to that. It's just it's not really something Andrew Gillum would want people to know.
Fairy tales in the modern day begin with "once I am elected."
I honestly just can't say, but I do think he's not saying specifically like I'm going to ban bump stocks or I'm against ARs only because he's running a race right now. I do think he would support anybody doing that stuff. Bill Nelson.
Right, that's all I'm worried about.
Whatever, whoever the next person may be.
I just wish
he can say it just because he's trying to get the moderates and the gun-toting people in North Florida.
All right, this is a bad state.
Okay.
It's a cracker state.
Okay.
Okay? Ask anybody outside of here. You go Port St. Lucie, Orlando. Man, them crackers ain't gonna let us do that. No, you crazy?
So, what is he doing?
He's campaigning. He's politicking.
So you're saying that different environments, wherever he speaks, he'll address a different audience.
Yeah, that's what a politician do.
We went to college together.
You did?
Yeah.
With him?
Yeah.
Oh, so that's how you know him?
Yeah.
All right.
Right?
So you were fighting all the good fights together?
A couple of them.
Do voters know that?
That's not for them to know.
Huh?
That's not for them to know. Remember, I was saying, modern day fairy tales start with "once I am elected." Gillum is a progressive. He's part of the crazy.
Okay, so I do want to say that with Andrew Gillum, there is a guy who is promoting him over in Southern Florida. And I call this promotion because apparently there are a number of people who are just active in politics literally all the time. And they're just waiting for elections because they think, and Republicans too. I have a friend like this, and it's like, the Republican Party, if you're dedicating yourself to them full time, and you haven't changed anything, then I really have nothing to say to you. But this guy, not the person in the video, his name is Jeff Miami. Okay, that's his Twitter handle. This guy is pretending all the time like Andrew Gillum is really like the savior of progressivism in Florida and whatever. Meanwhile, the guy talks out both sides of his mouth, and he constantly calls the race card on people. And then he has this guy walking around calling Florida a fucked cracker state and whatever. And who knows if this was before or after all these allegations that, which are bullshit, by the way, against DeSantis, Ron DeSantis, the Republican candidate, who, by the way, I'm not really impressed with, but, I don't live in Florida. I would say vote for DeSantis because with Gillum, the man is a proven liar. Let's see if we can get another nice segment here.
All right.
Some of this is just
So you were fighting all the good fights together?
A couple of them.
I didn't know y'all went to college together. That's cool. I didn't know that. So what was he doing? Was he active in college or what?
Yeah, he was the SGA president.
Oh, okay.
We were making a lot of noise.
All right.
We worked hard for the law school, the FAMU law school.
Okay.
We made a lot of noise for that. A whole lot of noise, man.
A lot of noise.
Whole lot of noise. But we eventually got back to law school. It was placed in Orlando. My brother went to that law school and graduated.
So he was doing it too then. He was like an activist with you then, back then.
I was an activist with him.
You an activist? Oh, he was the one doing
He was the leader.
Oh.
Progressive is like the Tea Party of the Democrats.
It's the far right. Medicare for all. Borderline socialism.
Yeah, and socialism.
That's the blue wave.
No,
No,
that's
that's
progressive.
The progressive agenda.
So you have the extreme right wingers. Those are the Trump and the crazy Republicans. The progressives are the crazy Democrat. You're hipsters. You're hippies.
Isn't that you? Isn't that the cool you?
The hippie.
I guess the hippie in me.
I
yes.
think he's somewhere in the middle. I don't think he's.
Are you not a progressive? Isn't Gillum a progressive?
Gillum is a progressive.
So Gillum is part of the crazy crazies?
He's part of the crazy.
Smith has some very strong.
So you know, look, I guess these are kind of informal conversations. Sometimes when I watch these Veritas videos, I sometimes think, you know, how much do you really read into it? But when you explain it like that, yes, he's trying to say that Andrew Gillum is a lot more radical than he portrays himself to the public, and to his hardcore base, you know, the people that know him, he does promise a lot of things that, you know, he wants to deliver. And then to the general public, he says the opposite. Examples: Medicare for all. A lot of progressives early in the campaign, you know, before the primary, were saying, you know, they want him because the other candidate, who I don't remember who she's related to, but yeah, it's not Bob Graham. But in any case, he was running against the candidate who was from one of Florida's leading Democratic families. And he was constantly talking about Medicare for all, and won the primary with not the most convincing lead, but certainly impressive enough that he was able to defeat an establishment candidate. And I think there was a third candidate that was also pretty close to them. And then once the general campaign had started, he did. Okay, remember, he was talking about Medicare for all, and he started to drift away from that and started talking in more generalities and this and that and whatever. It's gone. Medicare for all is off of his official agenda. So if you're a Floridian, whatever political stripe you're on, you don't know what you're getting with Andrew Gillum. You could be getting this person who is just this complete sellout, does whatever the fuck the corporations want. I was hearing today Nico House on the Jimmy Dore show was talking about Gillum took $700,000 from corporations for his donations and whatever. So if you're a progressive, there are certainly issues that you would have with Andrew Gillum. First of all, most of his progressive ideas, this guy goes on to say that they're not going to have the legislature, so it doesn't necessarily matter that Gillum gets into the office. He's going to have to, in order to really do something, he's basically going to have to change. They're talking about changing fundamentally the Constitution and legislature of Florida in order to sideline the legislature and Republican / conservative candidates. So no, I would say if you live in Florida, vote against this guy. Vote for DeSantis. You know, I'm not saying that I like DeSantis, and you know, I mean, it's a hard choice for you to make, but you might have to do it. And you know, there's a couple of things I agree with DeSantis on. I think he was instrumental in debunking Russiagate. Other than that, I can't say that. I think he's run a bad campaign. That's what I'm trying to say. The second candidate I think you should vote for 100% if you live in Massachusetts is Shiva Yadure. So watch this video.
Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai, Real Solutions to Real Problems. Many of you know I have 4 degrees from MIT, including my PhD in biological engineering. So I understand a number of engineering topics. One of the things that I'm really excited about is energy, and particularly the prospect of fusion. Some of you may know in the 80s, some very interesting results came about on cold fusion, which competed with what was called plasma fusion. Fusion, by the way, is how stars work or how the sun works. If we can learn to replicate fusion, we will have solved the energy problem forever in this world. We can create spacecraft that can go to the stars. And the way we need to do that is to think about the problem differently, and also to ensure that we're not just focused on hot fusion, but also cold fusion. More and more data is coming that the very controversial experiment that was done in the 80s, where cold fusion was purported to take place, has actually been replicated. So we need to move beyond the big academia, big military, big corporate models, which only want to support hot fusion, and we need to really fund the review and exploration of cold fusion. That's one of the things I will do to support research in that field. Thank you.
Okay, now before you guys call me fucking, Elon Musk, stoned on camera and whatever, look, I agree with this 100%. Not only with this idea, there's other ideas that are a little less science fiction-y that are also ignored, such as thorium reactors for nuclear power. And there might be a couple people in the audience, and I think you know who you are, who would know what I'm talking about. Yeah, we need to have people in the Senate who aren't completely scientifically illiterate, such as Elizabeth Warren and her fucking DNA idiocy, and he's running against her. And we could go into the whole, is she an Indian? Is she whatever? This guy is, fuck the whole identity thing. This guy's on it. I don't care if it makes me a nerd, and I don't care if it's all Alex Jonesy or whatever. If you're in Massachusetts, you're voting for this asshole. Sorry, Dr. Ayyadurai. Yeah, no, I like this. This is great. This is exactly the type of candidate I would want, and I'm not being facetious at all. I think I wish, I want to make an appeal to Dr. Ayyadurai. I almost said senator. If you do not win in Massachusetts, please run for office here in Ohio, because screw them. I mean, we have over here, we have apple cider, and we also we're not New Jersey, so those are the only selling points for my state. But yeah, please come here. And this is Larry Sharp from New York. This is the only other candidate I'm going to tell you explicitly to vote for, because honestly, the rest of it is just vote for the person who's not a Democrat. That you're not inspired by that, are you? Well, how about this?
I'm here in Saranac Lake, and I just left Fusion Market. It's a great little place, makes amazing sandwiches, and lots of local people here come by and buy their lunch every day. Some people, the sandwiches are so big and so good, they buy the sandwich for one day and it's lunch for 2. This is the great thing about small towns like this. They're beautiful, they're nice. In fact, they have a ice palace over here on Lake Flower. This is Lake Flower. Ice palace here every winter. Kids come by, family comes by, it's awesome, it's great. You can see, this is small town New York. It's great. But you can't have small town New York without small business and tourism. And they used to have something here. They used to have rail bikes. People would come and raise money. It's touristy, it's fun, support local businesses. But that went away. And it didn't go away because the business model was bad or the people didn't like it. It went away because bureaucrats in Albany decided it shouldn't be here. I'm not making that up. Bureaucrats in Albany put their fingers into the business of this amazing small town and decided that had to go. Colorado got it, Rhode Island got it, and we lost it. Again, New York losing because Albany puts their fingers in some small town's business. We need a new way of thinking. This has to change. No more stepping in. No more New York losing. No more old money. No more old New York. We need a new New York.
Yeah, this is a libertarian candidate. Libertarian Party in general, I'm not a huge fan of, but this guy ran for vice president as a libertarian. Didn't win the primary. He lost to Bill Weld, who I'm extremely not a fan of. And the issue that I think is really the reason that Larry Sharp is a good person to vote for, a good person to follow, even beyond politics, because I think he's a good promoter of ideas, and ideas that aren't just for some abstract bullshit about the Laffer curve and lower taxation and taxation is theft or whatever. You have to make a concept, the concept of liberty, relatable to people on the local level. And this is exactly what he does in this ad. This is exactly what he does when he talks about the SAFE Act. It's exactly what he's talking about when he says he's going to delegate money. He's going to allocate money, it would be the better term, for local governments and counties in order to deal with their education, as opposed to having it all run from the state capital. So he's running for governor. Shiva Ayyadurai is running for senator of Massachusetts. And I think, I personally would like more independent candidates to run. More libertarian candidates is also good. Okay, even though the party itself is not really moving in the direction I like most of the time. Then you have Green Party candidates are okay. I mean, I'm not opposed to them running. I don't always have a lot of issues. For example, the death penalty and legalization of or decriminalization, whatever, legalization or decriminalization of marijuana, for example. I think that all of these other parties, plus independents, plus you have to kind of break this duopoly that is strangling our public representatives. Okay, it's strangling us more than them, because they're living fine. Okay, this is something that the Bernie people that I spoke to from California, Joe and Josephine and Jim, they were talking about this a lot, that they don't have any trust in the two-party duopoly anymore. Well, I think in some states it's going to be just strangling them for the time being. In other states it's not, and we have to start supporting the ones that really are standing out. I understand, for example, in my state, I don't think it's feasible for the Libertarian to win. I wish it was, because the Republican candidate isn't very good, but the Democratic candidate is god awful. So I'm in any case, please vote your vengeance for this year, 2018. The midterms are an excellent year to really stick it to the Democratic Party, which I think is the worst element of our political system. And by the way, I mean, the Republican Party is also not very good at all, pretty bad, in fact. But you hate to use the analogy lesser of two evils, but the evil that's coming out of the Democratic Party is just ridiculous. You don't know what they're proposing. If you do know, it's usually just completely off the wall ridiculous, especially concerning immigration and gun control. And they just don't have any class, and they don't have any they don't have any self control. Okay, they don't. Nobody's stopping them. There's no social check on their behavior. Okay, you look at any of these other parties. Okay, I don't care what. I mean, look, the Green Party has some people I think that are a little crazy, but I don't really care, because I don't think that at the moment they pose a threat to anyone. The Democratic Party is literally just they're promoting people who are basically complete and total goblins, as Alex Jones would say. Andrew Gillum is just a fraud. He's a fraud in any sense of the word. Okay, both in terms of his public image and in terms of the corruption that he hides, in terms of how he complains about racial discrimination against him, or racial tones to the campaign. And that, I mean, I picked on him today because I was watching a couple of videos concerning that. But you could go around the country. You have the Bobby Menendez over in what's that state? In Jersey. Yeah, they deserve a candidate like him. Okay, you look at some of these people. Joe Manchin in West Virginia, also a Democrat. I wonder, the Democrats will they really breathe any sigh of relief if he wins? Because in all honesty, you don't know what the hell he stands for. Okay, then you have over in Minnesota, you have Keith Ellison running for Attorney General. Well, do you want somebody like that enforcing your law? Somebody who has literally no shame and will lie about his entire past? Who else is there? You you can go. I mean, there's Maxine Waters. Whatever. You get the point. Vote your vengeance. Please like this video. Subscribe to the channel. Vote for Larry Sharp and Shiva Ayyadurai. And also comment when it uploads. Subscribe to my other channel, Razor Ray Live Wounds, and also donate to the Patreon. And I will talk to you guys some other time. See you later.